At this point, is there really anybody who doesn't think there should be a stunt category at the Oscars? Hey everybody, welcome to Mainly Movies. Today I'm going to be talking about the 2024 action romantic comedy, The Fall Guy. If you're new here, please consider subscribing for a variety of movie-related content, like reviews, rank lists, and trailer reactions. All my reviews include a breakdown of the pros and cons, my rating, and some tailored film recommendations, so be sure to watch through to the end of this video for all of that extra content. The Fall Guy stars Ryan Gosling, Emily Blunt, and Aaron Taylor-Johnson, and was directed by David Leitch. Very loosely based on the 80s action TV show of the same name, it tells the story of a stuntman trying to reconnect with his ex-girlfriend, while simultaneously finding himself caught up in a mystery conspiracy involving the actor he doubles for. Movie trends are really fascinating to watch. Different genres, tropes, storylines, and themes all rise and fall in noticeable waves over the years and decades. You'll see that a niche subgenre will have a sudden surge in popularity, so we'll get a bunch of similar movies for a couple years until that trend tapers off again for a while. For instance, whodunits and multiverse stories have seen a somewhat recent rise, while rom-coms have been in a bit of a slump, though there has been a very recent surge for those as well. Another broad trend we've seen for a while now is the popularity and success of movie adaptations of existing IPs, which segues us nicely to the focal movie of this review, The Fall Guy. This is a movie that falls right in line with the current film trends, though there are some lightly subversive elements to that as well. Action comedies haven't fallen out of style for a long time, so that's not the surprising piece, but this movie does offer up a heavy dose of rom-com with a side of screwball comedy, which is much less common these days. And even the IP basis of this film is a little unusual. This movie is based on the early to mid-80s TV show of the same name, but really only in the loosest terms. It uses some of the same character names and focuses on a stuntman doing some offset work that utilizes his stunt skills, but it's quite different otherwise. The Fall Guy TV show doesn't really have a big following these days, so the decision to base the film on it is kind of an unusual one, but it is a fun idea that largely works. So in my reviews, I usually kick things off by digging into the story or tone, but given the Fall Guy's central focus, I'm going to start with the action and stunt work. Unsurprisingly, these aspects of the film are very good. One of the reasons for this is that David Leitch was in the director's chair. As a former stuntman and stunt coordinator turned director, he knows how to direct action, and that's been evident through all of his films. The other big factor at play here is that the film itself highlights stunt performance as a profession. This is a movie partially about making movies, sometimes giving us a glimpse of what goes into setting up and executing the stunts. There's this dual meta quality to the film, so it has its own stunts that are unrelated to the in-movie as well. There's some fun and interesting action here. Lots of long takes, some well-choreographed fight sequences, big explosions and car crashes, including an 8.5 rotation cannon roll that actually broke the Guinness World Record. Even though all of the action is presented in a fun and lighthearted manner, it's still impressive. It makes you appreciate the work and risk that goes into it, not to mention the largely overlooked and underappreciated stunt performers who make the cool and insane possible. Like I mentioned before, The Fall Guy is only very loosely based on its eponymous TV show. The show featured a stuntman moonlighting as a bounty hunter, while the film tasks him with finding a missing actor, as well as finding himself mixed up in a mystery and conspiracy criminal plot. This action thriller mystery side of the film is paired and often cross-cut with the story's romantic comedy core, Colt's reunion with his ex-girlfriend and his trying to win her back. The mystery plot side of the story does get a bit convoluted and keeps escalating to more and more absurd levels, but I thought it remained enjoyable throughout. That said, I can see how its presentation style could lose people, especially once it moves into the third act. The romance side is equally as silly and intentionally cheesy at times, but Emily Blunt and Ryan Gosling have excellent chemistry. There's this playful, rambling banter and light quality to it that kind of bizarrely evokes screwball comedy, and their scenes together and relationship journey are extremely enjoyable to watch. The whole movie's just really lighthearted and subtly self-aware. It's more than a little meta with the whole movie within a movie thing, allowing for some clever parallels between the production of Metal Storm and the progression of Colt and Jodie's relationship. Not gonna lie, that whole split screen sequence was really fun from a filmmaking appreciation standpoint. Admittedly, The Fall Guy doesn't feature the tightest plot, but it is an enjoyable one, full of good setups and even better payoffs, so I really enjoyed how everything was eventually pulled together. Despite some base-level shortcomings, The Fall Guy is an extremely fun movie, combining action, romance, humor, and filmmaking into a satisfying blend. I'm somebody who usually has very internalized reactions when watching movies, but I caught myself actively smiling quite a bit throughout this film, and I found it to be pretty funny. There are obviously some bits that didn't work for me, but I thought it had a good mix of humor. There are plenty of actual delivered dialogue jokes, but the comedy that really worked for me here came in the form of playful editing and some very quick but entertaining sight gags. Colt trying not to spill his coffee during a fight, the seemingly never-ending supply of broken glass in his hood, the hotel keycard sequence. They were all fairly little things, but just worked for me and added up over the course of the film. The Fall Guy is a silly movie. It's lighthearted and doesn't take itself very seriously, but manages to do so without ever feeling like a big throwaway joke of a film. Instead, it's just an entertaining and all-around fun time at the movies. Alright, let's talk about the pros and cons. Pro number one has got to be the stunt work. This is probably an unsurprising pro, considering the film is about a stuntman and really makes a point of highlighting the profession. The director, David Leitch, was formerly a stuntman and stunt coordinator himself, so he definitely has an eye for directing action and is able to really showcase it in two forms here. We get the typical action movie stunts as part of the plot, but because this movie is about filmmaking and features a movie being made within the movie, we also get this pseudo behind-the-scenes look at many stunts as well, which is equally impressive and really makes you appreciate the work, skill, and danger involved in bringing stunts like this to the screen. The second pro is the chemistry between Ryan Gosling's Colt and Emily Blunt's Jodie. Both of these actors are extremely charismatic, and the pairing of these two just works. These characters have a history with one another, and over the course of the film, work to overcome a conflict. So there's a broad range of emotions on display here. This romantic comedy aspect of the story gets a lot more focused than I was anticipating, and I think some people might dislike that, but I found the movie was often at its best when these two were together. There's this playful, smile-inducing, bantery quality to their interactions, and more than a hint of screwball comedy, which was an unexpected but not unwelcome thing. Pro number three might sound overly simplistic, but it's how fun this movie is. Serious films definitely have their place in the cinematic landscape, but there's also something to be said about a movie that can just deliver on lighthearted entertainment. This is a movie that never takes itself too seriously, but never falls into being dumb entertainment either. In that sense, it's kind of a perfect summer blockbuster movie. Light and entertaining, funny and endearing, but most of all, just a really fun time at the movies. On the con side, the biggest issue is how convoluted the story gets. I do want to say that this was not a major problem for me, but I can definitely see how it could be one for other people. This is a film that's sort of meta, sort of poking fun at genre tropes and Hollywood in general, but it's also sincere in its appreciation of filmmaking and stunt teams. So it brings a very specific tone to its story approach that works really well if you're in sync and on board with it, but probably not so well if you're a little out of step. And so the big plot swings and revelations could feel a bit excessive or ridiculous. Add on to that the multiple endings, and you've got a film that does feel a bit long. Again, not a major issue if you're with it, but a little tedious if you're not. Before I give you my rating and recommendations, I want to remind you that if you're interested in buying The Fall Guy or any of the other films I mentioned today, I do have affiliate links for all of them in the description below. I get a small commission from anything you buy through one of my links, so I'd really appreciate it if you'd use them if you're in the market for any of these movies. I'm gonna give The Fall Guy 4 out of 5 paws. It's an extremely fun time at the movies. The plot gets a bit convoluted, but the romance, humor, and impressive stunt work prevent it from ever getting bogged down. This is one movie that definitely earns its stunt guy thumbs up. I would recommend The Fall Guy to fans of action comedies or anybody looking for a fun and lighthearted movie. Good stunt work, an entertaining plot, and plenty of humor keep this entertaining throughout. Blunt and Gosling have good chemistry, so rom-com fans will be pleased here. And if you're someone who likes movies about movies, then all the clever meta behind-the-scenes stuff, both on and off the set of Metal Storm, will keep you entertained as well. Really, this is going to be a fun time for most people. If you liked The Fall Guy, I would recommend Hitman. In addition to the amusingly similar naming scheme, this is another crowd-pleasing film that manages to spotlight its romantic comedy components in the midst of its action thriller storyline. It's another fun movie featuring very charismatic actors with great chemistry, and a plot that never strays too far from its lighthearted premise. If you enjoyed Ryan Gosling's entertaining performance here, you'll probably want to check out Barbie. There are a lot of storylines going on in this IP-based film, but it's another movie in which Gosling's character is hopelessly in love, and he's really able to showcase his humor and the fun and silly side of his acting range. There aren't any massive stunts in this movie or anything, but it does feature primarily practical effects. And if you'd like another movie about a stuntman and his relationship with the actor he doubles for, you might want to watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. With its meandering plot that weaves itself into a true crime scenario, this Tarantino period piece isn't one that could be considered lighthearted, but it does provide a different take on the actor-stuntman relationship, and it's another movie about filmmaking. Alright, a couple questions for you guys. Number 1, have you seen The Fall Guy? If so, what'd you think of it? And number 2, what movie features your favorite stunts? Be sure to leave your answers in the comments below so we can get a discussion going. Alright, so if you got some enjoyment, insider information on this review, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe while you're at it to see more videos like this. Till next time, this has been Alyssa with Mainly Movies, the way life should be.